All right, so it is gardening season. It's nighttime, but y'all, it was beautiful outside today. It was like really cool. It was in the evening and really cool outside. It was just so beautiful. It just felt different. And so my daughter and I were just out there just knocking around. I don't even know what we were doing, but I wanted to come on here and share something with you guys. There's so much revelation I get when I'm out in the garden. And lately, I've been thinking about a lot of it. And I was like, I really want to share it with people because, many times, literally, I'm learning things, I'm growing as a gardener, and then God will start speaking to me about certain things, right? So one of the things, I wish it wasn't dark out there because it was getting dark when I thought about this, but I thought to talk about this. But one of the things that I'm doing this year that's a little bit different in my garden is companion planting. So I've kind of done a little bit of that, but not much of it. I'm looking over there because I see something crawling around. I have one of those glass doors I can see. It's like glass inside my door, so there's something crawling around. I'm like, you're not getting in. So, but yeah, so I was kind of knocking around this year and really just praying about, what I wanted out of my garden and how I was going to do the companion planting this year. So like, for instance, I have 3 trees out there and I put rosemary in with each tree. So I put my trees in those big, storage bins, the round ones. They're like 18 to 20 gallons. Put dirt in there, put holes at the bottom, all that kind of stuff, and planted it and gave it some good nutrients and all that good stuff. Anyway, and I planted some rosemary along with it. So, and I just kind of envisioned, I prayed through it and envisioned what I want it to look like. So as I'm envisioning and I'm doing all these different things and kind of planning out the garden, the Lord started speaking to me about companion gardening. So basically what companion gardening is when you put certain plants together that benefit each other, one or both plants in some way. So there's different ways that looks, but as he's showing me that, he starts showing me some other things. Okay, so I'll just give you the basics of what it actually is, and then I'll give you the revelation that he gave me on it, because it was like, he gave me something on all of them. It was just amazing. So the first part was the good part, and then there's some, he was showing me in the light of relationships and how it looks when we're literally planted or we're doing life or we're in community with certain people, different people. And so what he showed me was that in companion planting, if you put certain plants, and you have to look them up because there's so many different varieties and different combinations of how you can put plants together. So it's not really hard. It's like a Google search. It's really simple. But for instance, a lot of herbs and onions go with a lot of different things. And onions and garlic, for instance, are great companion plants. Rosemary and mint are good companion plants, but mint can go wild, so you have to keep it contained. It'll just take over whatever little space you put it in. It just runs. But that's why I put the rosemary in, because the smell is so fragrant to us, but it's too strong for a lot of pests. So it helps to ward off pests when you plant it with other things. So for instance, my trees, I'm noticing a lot of spiders around there. Spiders don't like rosemary, so I'm planting rosemary with that. I could also put onions in there if I want. And so some things are beneficial. There are some plants that if you put them together, that like literally underground, there are different things. That's my light just went off on my lettuce grow. But literally if you put them together, sometimes underground, there's nutrients that it's drawing or that it releases into the ground. Like for instance, beans are good nitrogen fixers. They help to kind of get more nitrogen in the soil. So if you have certain things growing around beans, it kind of helps, right? To put more nutrients in there for other plants. Like you can put tomatoes and beans together, or you can put all of my things are going out. So if you're seeing lights flickering, they're going out behind me. But then so those are good companions. And that's kind of like those good relationships where, you are different than they are. you're better around these people. There's something about them. There's a fragrance, or there's something about them that helps bring and add something to your life. And likewise, you are adding to their life as well in some way. Those are good relationships. And then there are some that are toxic for different reasons. There's some things that just don't pair well together because it'll hinder the growth of the other. So there's some things that you don't want to plant. Like, for instance, I think you don't want to put like strawberries and collards or brassicas. Anything that's a brassica is like, a collard, a broccoli, or kale, that kind of thing. You don't want to put them together because they both have different nutrient requirements, number one. And also, they have different water requirements. And actually, some of the growth can be hindered by their root systems being too close together. So there are some plants that if you put them near each other, they actually can hinder the growth of the other because of whatever they're releasing in the ground, underground. It's crazy. And so you want to be careful what you put together, but it's the same thing with relationships. There's some people where, hey, collards are great, strawberries are great, but together they're not great. And so there's also another type of companion planting where some things look different, but they're very similar. For instance, you don't want to put you typically don't want to put a bunch of collard greens, broccoli, kale. Those are brassicas. You typically don't want to put them all together. Even though they look different, they're in the same family. If you put them all together, they're all subject to the same diseases and the same pests. So you can literally wipe out your whole garden if you put them all together. Not saying you can't, you just got to stay on top of it. And it's a lot more work. It's better to put things and mingle things in with them that help to ward off pests. But then there's some things that look very dissimilar. They look very, very different. Like broccoli and collards, cauliflower, kale, they're all green leafies, right? But what about potatoes and eggplant and tomatoes? They are completely different. People don't even realize that they're even related, but they are. They may look different, but they're cut from the same cloth. They're still very similar. And so, because they're in the nightshade family. So people will always say, don't put them together. They don't make good companions. There's some people that they have some of the same, you ever heard of trauma bonding? It's like they have some of the same trauma, some of the same background. And so it doesn't help them they may be so similar and they get along well, but at some point it'll get toxic because they'll attract some of the same pests, some of the same diseases of the soul and of the mind. And so as I was thinking about it, I was like, man, that is crazy. And then there are the trap crops. Trap crops. These are the sacrificial lambs. The sacrificial lambs of companion gardening. One great trap crop that I'll just mention. I keep looking at that bug, y'all. I'm so sorry. I keep looking over there. But one great trap crop is like nasturtiums. It's a type of flower. It's actually an edible flower, which is pretty cool. You can eat the leaves and all that. But nasturtiums are really tasty to certain pests, certain bugs like aphids, for instance. Aphids are like a gardener's, we just hate aphids. We don't like aphids. We don't want thrips. We don't want, certain leaf miners. We don't want grubs in our yard. There's certain things that we just really don't like. Well, aphids tend to attract certain bugs that we don't like. And that's actually not a bad thing, because if you put nasturtiums attract certain things like aphids, bugs that you don't like. So if you put nasturtiums near other crops where aphids also like, a lot of times they'll choose the nasturtiums over, let's say, like your cucumbers or something like that. They like that better, and they'll come after that one instead of going after the other. And so it's really interesting. But at the same time, they can also attract beneficial bugs also that like to eat aphids, but they also are good at pollinating. So it's crazy because that's like very complex. So basically it brings the bad bugs. It kind of attracts the bad bugs that are in your yard, and it brings it to that one little spot. But also the beneficial bugs also like to come into that area and eat the aphids as well. And so they're kind of like the little sacrificial lambs. I was asking God, give me some more revelation on that. To me, those are people that they like to maybe serve and they like to help others. But you have to be careful because you can end up being like the sacrificial lamb. Even though people are attracted to you beneficially, you can also be attracted in a negative way. So even though that kind of companion planting is actually good in a gardening setting, but when we're talking about people and we end up being the one that always wants to protect someone, there are benefits because people can be drawn to us. Yes, people can look at you as being strong and being, very vigorous and being the one, but by the time you're all eaten alive and you're not protecting yourself, everybody else goes on and they're fine, but you're left broken. And that happens a lot also with people that are not careful. Maybe they have a servant's heart, or maybe they're just very protective, or they're the strong one, right? And so you have to be careful with those types of things, that you have to look at yourself and say, what is it about me? In all of these cases, you have to ask yourself, what is it about me? Not the other person. What is it in me that is causing any of the toxicity? What is it in me and this other person that's too alike that's causing problems? Or what is it in me that needs to be needed? Maybe you're the nasturtium, right? Maybe you're the trap crop. I don't mean that in the term of trap music at all. I'm talking about maybe you're the one where you always end up being the one that helps to protect other people, but you are drawing the pest to yourself. It's like you're the one that's getting the hits. And so, yeah, sometimes there are others that can come in and save you and help you. But I'll be honest with you, that does not always happen, because I've had nasturtiums. I didn't see a lot of beneficial insects around. Maybe that's just me, but I'm not saying that about everybody. Maybe we just didn't have it enough. I've actually bought ladybugs and lacewigs to bring them into my garden, because I already have like plenty of like little lizards and things like that. Even spiders help, but if I see a spider, I'm killing it, because I don't know if it's poisonous or not. And they're like in my trees. That's why I got rosemary to ward them off. But yeah, it's just, you have to kind of think about that. What is it in me, instead of always looking at the other person? What is it in me that is needy, that needs to be needed, that continues to be the trap crop? Or what is it in me where it's like, even though me and this other person, we come from different backgrounds, it seems, but maybe we have some of the same soul wounds and issues. We look different, but there's something about us that's similar, that drew us together, but we're just trauma bonding. Always look at yourself also. If you find yourself, constantly in the same types of battles and bad relationships, that could be why. But find yourself with people that are great companions. Like, for instance, my tree is going to provide some amounts of shade to the rosemary, and the rosemary can help ward off the bugs. It's mutually beneficial. That's a healthy relationship. I also put some rosemary by my banana bushes, the same thing. They're not super close, but they're close enough to be a benefit, because if I put them too close, I know the banana tree just likes to, or they're not really trees, they're bushes actually, but bananas, they love to just kind of grow, and they'll just keep expanding in their area. So I gave it enough space to where it could expand if it wants, but my rosemary still can thrive in that area and benefit the banana bush, and the banana bush can give a little bit of shade, because it gets really, really hot here in Texas. And so even plants that love sun need a little bit of protection. But the banana plant loves the heat of the sun. It loves it, and it'll suck up all the water. It loves water, and rosemary, they're okay with not having tons of water. So that banana is going to take up all the extra water. It needs that. So it's beneficial. It's not sacrificial. It's beneficial. So yeah, I just wanted to stop by and give you guys a little bit of thought-provoking agriculture. I'm pretty sure I'll be doing more of these because I have so many other ideas, but let me know in the comments if you like this kind of thing.